It's Veterans Day weekend.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
It's 6 minutes after the hour on this Veterans Weekend 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Restoring Hope Live, a ministry spread all over the United States and around the world via XM Sirius, the American Family Radio Network, and webcast1live.com. We thought we would start our show today honoring a veteran who has certainly the tale to tell. He was he was in Vietnam in the Marine Corps from November of 67 to April of 1970. He was unfortunately caught in the middle of the Tet Offensive. He was born and raised in the church, turned his back on God, his words, not mine, turned to drugs and alcohol, and just 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, surrendered his life back to Jesus Christ, and it's an incredible story, and we're really glad to have Paul Morrison here to tell it, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Pastor Dr. Michael Hartwig in the house, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and we're being produced by Maddie on the visual and web, and of course, Eric on our audio. Paul, welcome, and thanks for being a veteran, and thanks for serving us.
Thank you very much for having me here today.
I appreciate that. Now, you joined the Marine Corps, or were you drafted?
No, sir. I joined because I didn't want to be in the Army, and I loved the Marine Corps uniform.
All right. You do love the uniforms.
Yes, I did.
They are sharp uniforms. And that was November of 1967. So there was no doubt in your mind that you were heading to Vietnam.
Well, I enlisted the day I turned 18, and I went in April of 67, and 6 months later I was in Vietnam.
And was there ever any thought in your mind that you wouldn't go to Vietnam?
No, it was one of the reasons I joined the Marine Corps, because I wanted to go.
Why?
18-year-old kid full of vinegar and stuff, and decided I wanted to be a Marine and fight a war.
Okay. What was your life like before you were 18? Were you raised in a good home?
I was raised in a home where me and my two brothers didn't ask for anything in the world. We knew right from wrong. We were raised in the church. Our parents raised us as good Christian boys. And that's how my life was until I turned 18 years old.
Would you say that you, now not compared to today, but at 18, do you think you had a personal relationship with Jesus?
No, not really. It was just going because the family went to church.
Right. Okay, good.
And you were pretty accomplished. I mean, you went to school and you got a diesel mechanic
yes,
degree or something like that?
I was a straight A student in school. I never had to pick up the book. As of with today, the Lord blessed me with
yeah, a lot of times people who sign up for the military, they kind of get this idea that, or we have this perception that, well, you can't do anything else, so just join the Marines. That's what we could do, but not in your case.
No, I could have went to college and furthered my education.
Right.
Matter of fact, I had thoughts of being a history teacher at the time because I love history.
Sure.
But the Marine Corps interrupted those thoughts.
Yeah. So you head over to Vietnam.
Yes.
And what'd you do over there?
Well, the first night I got there, one of the guys in the outfit that I knew from the States gave me a joint of marijuana. And for the next 2 years, it was a life of drugs and alcohol.
Had you ever smoked marijuana before that?
No.
Had you ever drank anything?
No.
Really?
No.
So this was 18 Marine Corps, Vietnam, and drugs.
Yes.
And alcohol.
And alcohol. They gave us alcohol, the Marine Corps did, when you'd come in the evening. You could, we weren't old enough to drink, even over there fighting the war. We were not allowed to go to the clubs and drink, but we were allowed to get 2 cans of beer each night.
Okay.
And then you would get somebody that didn't drink, you might trade your cigarettes for their beer.
Wow. Paul Morrison is our guest. He's a retired Marine Corps. What rank did you walk out?
I just made E5, and I'm not retired. I just did 6 years.
So what does E5 mean?
Sergeant, E5.
Sergeant.
Three,
That's pretty,
3 stripes.
Okay, so it's pretty high up. Is that right?
And
As far as
enlisted,
enlisted.
enlisted, it's about midway in the ranks.
So you're in Vietnam, and you're seeing combat.
Yes.
You're being shot at.
Yes.
You're shooting at people.
Yes.
Are you high and drunk all day?
Every day.
Every day, all day.
Every day, as much as you could get. So basically, it was smoking weed and taking speed.
Okay.
So,
and how did that impact life in the jungle?
that's what made it bearable.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Those were your coping skills.
Yes, that's how you learned how to cope. Some guys would cope with heroin or morphine. Others would cope with just liquor. Others with marijuana, and a lot of us, as myself, would cope with a mixture of them.
Were there any Christians?
Pardon?
Any Christians trying to cope? They were followers of Christ?
Oh, yes. There were. You would have guys reading out their Bible, smoking a joint at the same time.
Anybody? Well, there were obviously people that chose to turn to none of those things.
Yes, very much.
How did they cope?
I guess their strength would be, a lot of them would be with the Lord.
Okay, but you knew that. You had that, no?
But mentally, I can say this now, I was weak.
Okay.
I became, drugs became my coping mechanism.
So why did you need to cope? I mean, was it just the
why
heat?
did you need to cope?
That's
Somebody give me a rifle and you just run down the hallway here,
and see how
I'm
fast
just
I
going
can
to
go.
take pot shots at you.
I mean, was that every day you were being shot at?
Oh, no, not every day. We had days of beautiful calm and everything, but we were situated in a part of Da Nang in Vietnam. They called us Rocket Alley. Basically, every night, the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese would drop 127 millimeter rockets on us, even if it was just 2 or 3 for harassment.
And you just hoped that they wouldn't hit you.
That's it.
You did.
You'd be sitting back at night, playing cards, smoking weed, drinking Johnny Walker, whatever, and all of a sudden, it was like a whistle sound coming overhead.
And everybody dive under the beds and
no, we had bunkers, sandbag bunkers that you dive into.
Is it true there's no atheists in foxholes?
No, there's no atheists in foxholes.
There's no, so everybody was calling out to the Lord.
I've heard guys actually cuss God, cuss their mother until they got shot, and then the first words out their mouth was, "Oh God, I want my mom."
Okay, wow. I'm going to ask a really strange question. Did we lose that war because of the drugs and alcohol?
I would put a lot of that into the loss of it, but I would also say we really lost that war. I'd say 75% of it is because the higher-ups wouldn't let the military men do what they were supposed to do.
Which was?
Fight. We were over there more, like they say, as a police. We fought back when we were attacked, but they wouldn't let us take it to them.
Now, if I recall, we never declared war.
No, it was a police action.
Yeah.
It was never declared a legal war.
And when you came home in 1970, I was 12 years old. Yeah. And I was unaware, okay? Whatever Walter Cronkite showed me at, 5:30 in the evening is all I knew. But I've learned over the years that we didn't treat a lot of Vietnam vets very kindly when you got back.
I was, they discriminated me on part. There was still a lot of racial tension at that time, too.
Sure.
I was discriminated as far as jobs by being black and by being a Vietnam veteran. I was never one of those who was spit on at an airport or had urine thrown at them or anything. But I was treated I was called dirty names.
Paul Morrison is our guest, a Vietnam veteran, someone who got involved with drugs and alcohol in Vietnam, and it stayed with his life until 3 years ago, almost 4 years now, that he surrendered his life to Jesus and got clean. It's our Veterans Day show. For you who have served, my honest thank you. You did something that I couldn't do, but I wish I would have. We're talking about you today, the heroes, on Restoring Hope Live.
Good things come in threes. You meet your soulmate, you get married, you have your first child together. Good things do come in threes. And Take Shape for Life is no exception. Your free personal health coach, a professional weight loss coach, the Medifast 5-in-1 plan for healthy weight loss, and the Habits of Health system for a lifetime of good health are 3 of the best gifts you can give yourself. Together, they lead to the healthy weight control that helps you take shape for life. Lose weight safely and quickly with the Medifast 5-in-1 plan, featuring medically formulated, nutritious, and delicious meal replacements by Medifast. You'll choose 5 Medifast meals each day, one every 2 to 3 hours. Because you eat frequently, you're never hungry, and your metabolism stays revved. Many of the Medifast meals are portable, so you can fit this diet into even the busiest lifestyle. You also get 1 lean and green meal to eat at the time that works best for you. For the lean, you'll have lean protein. The green is servings of low glycemic vegetables. Depending on your source of protein, you'll get some healthy fat too, and that'll help keep you full and satisfied. While Medifast meals are delicious and nutritionally sound, don't think you'll be committed to meal replacements forever. The 5-in-1 plan is just the first phase of our program. In the transition phase, you'll begin to add more fruits, vegetables, and protein. And on maintenance, you're ready. Optimal health is yours. To speak to a personal health coach, go to RestoringHopeLive.com and click on the Take Shape for Life tab. Then let us know about your healthy new lifestyle and how good you look and feel. And thanks for listening to Restoring Hope Live. That's RestoringHopeLive.com.
Hi, this is John Vodder. Let me ask you this question. Is it loving to let a drug addict or a drug abuser hurt themselves? This is a tough question. There are no easy answers to the question, and it's a complex question. First of all, only the addict or abuser can decide to stop. And our begging, our pleading, our cajoling, our threatening, our bribing simply don't work. It's the addict's decision and the addict's responsibility. I think of a young man I know who's now a drug counselor who lived on the streets in California for 20 years. He said, I did not want to do anything but get high. And all my parents could do, and they did it right, he says, is pray for me and wait for me until I was willing to get sober. Why is this so? Well, he says because the drugs were working. That is, he enjoyed the highs. And so we parents have to wait it out.
Visit lighthousenetwork.org.
Hi, this is Dr. Mike Hartwig. In case you haven't noticed, marriages are in trouble today. One of the things we've learned is that if you don't constantly work on your marriage, it can quickly fall apart. Several years ago, my wife and I put together a first-rate marriage seminar that we would love to partner with you and your church to bring to the people in your community. Simply go to RestoringHopeLive.com and send us an email requesting more information, or check out the seminar tab at RestoringHopeLive.com.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
I had a doctor friend of mine say, I've never heard you speak about stewardship of our health. If we are going to be servants of the Lord, we need to take care of ourselves. 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, do you know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, who you have received from God? You are not your own. Well, in that context of 1 Corinthians, I'm not sure the Lord was speaking about the stewardship of our body or our health, but he does say we have received it from God and it's not our own. Our health should certainly be a part of healthy stewardship.
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of the Regency Foundation, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. Call them at 877-4-PLAN-WISE or log on to regencyfoundation.org. That's regencyfoundation.org.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
It's 19 minutes after the hour on this Veterans Weekend 2013. I want to introduce you to a American hero. I don't mean that offensively, sir. I hope you don't take it that way. But any man who's willing to put on a uniform and a pair of boots and go out and defend this country, I don't know how hero gets any bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Thank you for that. But everybody thanks us veterans for serving the United States.
Yeah.
I'd like to let the people know I thank them for letting me serve.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Because it's an experience I will never regret having done.
Holy smokes. That is a powerful statement right there.
Yeah, that is.
Because so many times I see this all the time. I've come, my family's all military. I kind of feel bad I didn't serve too, but I just see everybody giving everything to veterans, and a lot of times they don't deserve it. I mean, a lot of times veterans that get in, they take advantage of the system. They suck everything they can out of it, and then every time you turn, I realize I'm probably creating some type of blasphemy right now that I dare stand up and say some veterans don't deserve this, but this attitude is, Joe, man, God bless you for saying, hey, thank you for letting me to serve. That's blessed.
6 of the best years of my life, even with the drugs and alcohol involved, with the camaraderie, and to me, knowing that I was doing something to help people.
Are you still in touch with some of the men and women you served with?
Not the ones in my outfit, but there are quite a few of us from Tech High School who went in at the same time.
Okay.
And like tomorrow, all of us will meet down at the Harding Hills Hy-Vee and have our big Veterans Day breakfast. There are a few of us, I'm very much involved with my men's ministry at my church, St. Paul AME. And there are 3 of us who were over in Vietnam at the same time and ran into each other. And we were born and raised here, and we really keep in touch.
All right, let's switch to the uncomfortable part of this program, the drugs and alcohol. You said you used them to cope through Vietnam, but you got home in April of 1970, and you kept using for 40 more years.
It became an addiction. First part of it, I used to tell people, I'll quit when it's not fun anymore.
Okay.
Well, it quit being fun a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
It became a job.
Yeah.
It became a way of life. And it led me to doing criminal acts.
Did you did you serve time in prison for those criminal acts?
Quite a bit.
How much?
Probably about a total of anywhere from 15 to 20 years over the years.
And was it burglary?
Burglaries, forgeries.
Okay, whatever you needed to get
whatever
by.
I needed to get my drugs.
And any relationships that lasted or were destroyed, or marriages, kids?
I lost 2 marriages to 2 of the most beautiful young ladies. Both of them career girls who I, let them remain anonymous.
Yeah, please do.
Both of them career girls in their jobs, and neither one of them drugs or alcohol involvement whatsoever. And it was me running in and out of penitentiaries, and drugs was more. And in process, I had 3 children.
Okay.
A boy, then a girl, then another boy.
Do you have a good relationship with all 5 of those people today?
Yes.
Do you? Good.
Yes, and the girls, it is really funny. Right now, both of them are basically I can say best friends. I can call them, and they would jokingly say, you must need a friend now.
I see. Okay. And just describe your life for me during those 40 years of drug and alcohol abuse. You were in and out of prison. You were in and out of marriages and relationships. Were you a gangbanger? Is that the right term?
No, my era, the age I grew up in, was no gangbanging.
Okay.
None of that. It really hurts me today to see the way these kids are. And no, there was no gangbanging. It was an individual thing, and I jokingly say I never had a fall partner on any crime. As you see now, you'll see these children now doing something, and there's 4 or 5 of them involved in one thing.
Yeah, have you heard about this new, you know what a flash mob is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the robbing mob?
It's where everybody comes together and they rob.
They just go into a store and everybody just snatches what they want.
Well, they take entire racks of coats and clothes and just move out the front door with them.
Right.
Paul,
you just gave a bunch of people some ideas.
Oh, they already. Our listeners are not like that. They wouldn't. And besides that, it's nothing new. You can see it on YouTube and on the nightly news. Paul Morrison is our guest. Marine Corps Sergeant from 1967 to 1970. Served in Vietnam. Never smoked a joint or drank an alcoholic drink until he got into Vietnam, and then it became a way of life. It became the way he coped. Then when he got home, well, he stopped, right? Because he wasn't getting shot at anymore, and he was back home on American soil, right? Nope, that's when things got bad. Criminal history, drugs and alcohol continued. What do you think was the lowest point?
Lowest point of my life, I think one day my mother told me, she said, if you go back again, you better have a girlfriend or a wife, because I'll never help you again.
If you go back to prison?
If I go back to prison.
And did you?
No.
No. So
I haven't had a traffic ticket since then.
Wow. Okay. All right, we're going to take a phone call real quick, which means you need to put on those headphones for just a second. Frank is on the phone. Frank, you're live on Restoring Hope Live. How you doing, Frank? You got a question for Paul?
Yeah, just a short two-part question. Do you think we got into Vietnam with the purpose of not winning, or was this something gradual with the political wins? And basically, why do we keep getting in these conflicts we have no intention of winning?
I think we did.
Thanks, Frank.
I think we did get into it with no intention of winning, and it's just that the wars now, it is money and politics.
And what was the Vietnam War?
Money and politics.
Wow. The last one that wasn't money and politics was?
World War II.
So Korea was?
Korea was never a war. It was a conflict.
Right.
But the actual war, as they say, that generation of the World War II veterans, that was the last meaningful war that the United States fought.
Yeah. So you don't think first Iraq War, the second Iraq War, the Afghanistan War that we're involved in now, you don't think that we should be there?
No, not at all.
That's good. And coming from a veteran, I think that's important. That you know
I'm not quite sure I understand why we were over in Vietnam. I mean, I remember watching it, seeing my cousins go off and things like that, but and everybody being mad at the veterans.
Supposedly, we were over there to stop the communists from taking over the country.
Yeah, stopping the Russian and Chinese backed North Vietnam from taking over South Vietnam. Now, it is very hard for me to understand, mostly because I'm ignorant, because for once I can say I'm young, because I wasn't around when this was going on. But I kind of get the oil thing.
Right.
I kind of get the oil thing, that we are such an oil-dependent nation. And I think most people who listen to this radio show are intelligent enough to know it isn't about cars. It's about our clothes. It's about styrofoam. It's about almost everything else we do requires some type of oil. But in Vietnam, it was just a political and money thing, you think?
That's what I honestly think.
Where's the money? It costs us a ton of money to go and do that.
It cost us a ton of money, but we also gained allies doing it that would help overall, who came over there. We had Australian troops. We had Korean troops. We had British troops.
But where's the money? I don't see why the United States was getting the money off of it.
We gained allies to help.
And with allies, then you get routes of imports and exports, and you sell thousands and thousands of tons of beef from Iowa, and the Iowa farmers are happy, and you sell automobiles, and so the automobile dealers are happy. And
yes, right now, as much, like I said, it was an honor to serve this country. Right now, myself, I would not go into the military. I would not recommend my children to go into the military until these conflicts, these wars are over with. And then it's the best thing in the world to be in there, the training, the camaraderie, the friendship, the long-lasting, lifelong friendships.
So how do you respond to when somebody says, hey, thanks for serving our country. I know without your dedication and service, we wouldn't be able to be free right now. Well, in your case, is that really true? So what? The
Vietnam War had nothing to do with the United States staying free.
Yeah, so why are we thanking these vets for helping us maintain our freedom?
Well, the way I see it, and it's just like I tell guys who are in an era of a war. Maybe they didn't fight, but every one of us signed a blank check for our life to protect this country, and that's where we signed the check. That's where we signed the check to help this country stay free. Yeah, and I have no regrets for doing it whatsoever.
Right.
Paul Morrison is our guest today on this Vets Weekend. How are you honoring your veterans? Have you called a vet? Have you walked down the street to your neighbor who was a vet and thanked him? The minimal. Do you have a flag out? Seriously. This morning, our pastor in church asked all the veterans to stand up, and we gave them an applause. If you drive by my house, you'll see 12 flags. Okay, I'm a little overdone, but you'll see 12 flags. What are you doing to celebrate and to honor the vets today? We'll talk to Paul Morrison a little bit more about his drug and alcohol use and how Jesus came back into his life when we come back to Restoring Hope Live.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed everybody. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This moment of uncontrollable laughter was made possible by a 32-year-old man with little to no coordination attempting to execute a simple cartwheel. His name is Sergeant Warner, but young James, our laughing friend here, simply calls him Dad. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
In Isaiah 55, God makes it clear that his word does not go forth and come back void or empty. He says this, but I shall accomplish that which I purpose. I shall succeed in the things for which I sent it. Listen, I don't know about you, but I have never found a place in all of Scripture that when God spoke, nothing happened. Listen, whenever Jesus spoke, it came to pass. In my life, whether it was destruction, healing, or love, something happened when God spoke. When you read the Bible or pray, listen to what God has to say about his will for your life.
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Every day I wake up at 5 to give Dad his medicine. Every day I wake up at 5 to give Dad his medicine. At 6 I make his breakfast. Every day I wake up at 5 to give Dad his medicine. At 6 I make his breakfast. At 7 I shower. Every day I wake up
For those caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. If you've ever failed to share your faith because you just didn't know what words to use, then carry the word with you.
I include these pocket testaments in our visitor folders at church, or I give them out on home visitations, or I leave them in public places such as gas stations, malls, stores, rest areas.
Hello, this is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. Reading the Bible every day is so easy when you always have it with you. You won't even need a backpack. You can carry one right in your pocket. What are you waiting for?
I witness to people with tracts, but also leave them with the Word of God for them to read for themselves. I'm going to let my people at Fellowship know about the Pocket Power Ministry. Thank you for your work in God's kingdom.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
36 minutes before the top of the hour, we thank you for joining us on this Veterans Day weekend. I hope that you're doing something to honor vets. Now, in the community that we live in, we're very highly military. We have a large base here, and it is not unusual at any time, on any given day, at any given convenience store, grocery store, church, to have people walking around in uniform. And I almost always will walk up to somebody and say, thank you for serving. And I think that is something that we all ought to do year-round, not just one day a year or one weekend a year. And I also do it with policemen when I get a chance. And I'm not trying to get brownie points. I'm just trying to let them know that I appreciate their job, and most importantly, I wouldn't do it. It's not a couldn't. It's a choice. I wouldn't. I could not give, like you did, Paul. I don't think I could give my country that blank check, which was my life. I just don't think I could do that, so I honor you for doing that. Paul Morrison is our guest. He's was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, served in Vietnam from 1967 to 1970, came home addicted to drugs and alcohol, and remained addicted to drugs and alcohol for almost 40 years. But that wasn't all. Now, Bob Montserrat, in your real life, you are a forensic scientist and one of the leading most experts on stress and PTSD,
post-traumatic stress disorder.
And I'd like to turn this over to you for just a second and talk to Paul about that syndrome.
Well, that was a common term for returning Vietnam veterans.
What is it?
Post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's for people that are in war, people that go to war and experience traumatic events.
Not just military.
Not just military. It could be police officers, emergency service people, anybody.
Could be a hurricane.
Could be a hurricane. The people in Philippines that just went through the typhoon. So people that experience traumatic events, and there are a variety of traumatic events, that has the potential to cause PTSD, which is long-term.
And what is that? I mean, how do you recognize it?
Well, it's because people are stuck in what they had experienced. For police officers, if they shot an individual, it may be something that they can't really get past, that I took somebody's life and I can't get to a point of being normal again, because you go back to that point, and it tends to haunt you over the years that you can't get over it. I knew another person, I had a friend of mine that at the plane crash we attended, there was this little 11-year-old girl that had died, and he took a special interest in her, and he could never recover from the thoughts of seeing that little girl being dead, a very innocent person. And so he developed that post-traumatic stress, was on all kinds of psychological drugs, and eventually developed Alzheimer's, and he died a year later. But he had to go out on a medical retirement because he could not live a normal life, because he was haunted by what he saw and what he experienced, and there was nothing.
So it fleshes itself out in different ways. It could be drugs, alcohol, it could be nightmares, it could be...
Absolutely, yes. And
it impacts the ability to function.
To get back to a normal state where you're not haunted by what you experience. It's just a constant thing that you may have flashbacks, you may have nightmares, wake up with sweats, that it's just a continuous thing and you never get around it. Somebody slams the door, you jump, you have this reaction to it because of explosions around you if you're in the military, or whatever the situation is. And so I deal with people here in the stateside, law enforcement people, emergency service people that have had terrible experiences, which we call initially critical incident stress. And if you don't get it early, then it can develop into PTSD. And so it really takes a psychologist to work with you and to diagnose you as having PTSD.
And then what do you do about it? What's the strategy to help people?
Well, in that, it's usually therapy. Once you're at that level of PTSD, it's long-term therapy that you go through.
Talking it through.
Well, that's part of it, is talking it through, getting into a system of exercise, nutrition. I mean, it's a whole big thing. It's a whole life thing that you must do to try to recover. And so my question really to Paul is, did you experience trauma when you were there in Vietnam?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and when you were there, did you use did you initially get into the drugs possibly as a mechanism to cope with what you experienced?
It was one of the main things, because it's for an 18-year-old kid to be going down the road seeing a bloated body and dogs eating on it and everything. And to come from the type of family I did, never see nothing like that. Worst I ever saw was a cowboy getting shot on TV. I mean, as far as actual. I had saw stuff before, but nothing like what I saw in Vietnam. And just the way to put it in the back of my mind was drugs.
Was try to escape from what you were seeing to try to at least dull the pain.
Yes, it was. And as far as you made a statement as far as what normal people do, I to this day I wouldn't know what normal is. But as far as the PTSD with everything, once I turned my life over to God and got help, I haven't looked back since then.
So when you came back to the States after you served, how did you know that the Vietnam experience was affecting you?
I didn't. Wasn't nothing wrong with me. It was the world. Something was wrong with the world. They just couldn't understand. So it wasn't nothing wrong with me. That's why I resorted to doing what I did and running with who I ran with, people who understood me, people who had experienced the same thing I had experienced. That's why I drove tractor trailers cross country most of my life, so I could be alone. I didn't have to deal with these problems of everyday society, steady asking me questions, especially when it was fresh in my mind. I didn't want to relive that.
So the only people that really understood you were your peers, people that served with you.
That's right.
And so who was it that discovered the fact that you were experiencing this PTSD?
I checked myself in one time to a drug and alcohol treatment center in the VA hospital, and they told me that I had more problems than drugs and alcohol, that I had psychological problems.
Just from talking to you and interviewing you?
In the program. And so they sent me to a PTSD program, and I was sent to a trauma unit, what they call a trauma unit in Topeka, Kansas, where they dig into your brain, basically. It's like they just open up your head.
Psychologically.
Yes. They just opened up your head psychologically, and they bring out things that even you didn't know you had hid. And they put you in groups with your peers, 4 or 5 people, so you can develop a trust where you can let this stuff come out.
So you need to talk about your experiences, and the more you talk about them, the better you start to feel.
The better your body gets, the better your mind gets, the better your relationship gets with your family, with your loved ones.
But you only really trust other people that have been through it, that have an understanding.
At that time. Now, I do not have the trust issues that I had before I went through this program. Now I can show emotions. Basically, my emotions were turned off the day I went into the Marine Corps, like I said, until 3 years ago. And now I can show emotions, and I like it. Now I can tell somebody I love them, and I like it.
Let me ask you a question. You were married twice. You must have been an emotional man at one point or another. Women aren't you said you married good women. You must have shown some emotion, some love, something.
Well, my second wife told me after 25 years she didn't know me because I was the type that didn't show emotion.
Okay.
But that's because you didn't want to bring up anything. Didn't you say before you didn't talk about anything?
I didn't love anybody but Paul Morrison.
So what was the event that caused you to put the plug in the jug in February of 2010 and surrender your life back over to Christ?
I was on my way to a liquor store at 6 o'clock in the morning to get my morning fix. And I made it 1 block from my house. I turned around. I walked back to my apartment. I got on my knees crying like a baby. I didn't ask the Lord to save me or anything like that. I asked the Lord to help me on this journey I'm getting ready to take. And I called one of my best friends and asked him to take me to the VA hospital. One of the ladies out there, as far as anonymity, they do not mind me using first names. One of the ladies named Cindy told me the only way I could come in would be voluntarily check myself into the mental unit. And as I jokingly say, I checked myself into one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And for 4 days, I was sick.
You were detoxing.
Yes. And I basically cussed out everybody that came in the room.
I'll bet you did.
And I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want no help. And another one of the ladies, Jill, I told her I wanted to go through the substance abuse program. She said I couldn't get in for probably anywhere from 14 to 21 days. I said, well, there's a Hy-Vee wine and spirits down there. If you discharge me, I'll be down there. I'll be drunk by the time the bus comes for me to go get some crack. Jill came back an hour later. They admitted me into the substance abuse. And during that time, after I'd asked the Lord to help me, during that time, I picked myself up and I started catching the bus from the VA hospital to my home church where I was raised in St. Paul, AME. And it just grew on me. The more I went to church, my main thing was that I felt as if all the atrocities that I had seen and might have participated in, I did not deserve to have the Lord in my life.
We're coming back with the rest of Paul's story next on Restoring Hope Live.
Hi, this is Dr. Mike Hartwig. In case you haven't noticed, marriages are in trouble today. One of the things we've learned is that if you don't constantly work on your marriage, it can quickly fall apart. Several years ago, my wife and I put together a first-rate marriage seminar that we would love to partner with you and your church to bring to the people in your community. Simply go to RestoringHopeLive.com and send us an email requesting more information, or check out the seminar tab at RestoringHopeLive.com.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
I'm not sure the Word of God is received or believed as it should be today. I certainly have my opinion, but I do know this, that there is nothing more important in the world today than for a clear, well-defined, scriptural declaration of the gospel, particularly the gospel of the grace of God. But what about the gospel? See, we have a responsibility as believers to support those efforts that are proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. I hope as you reflect on your stewardship that you would reflect on the proclamation of the gospel.
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Good things come in threes. You meet your soulmate, you get married, you have your first child together. Good things do come in threes. And Take Shape for Life is no exception. Your free personal health coach, a professional weight loss coach, the Medifast 5-in-1 plan for healthy weight loss, and the Habits of Health system for a lifetime of good health are three of the best gifts you can give yourself. Together, they lead to the healthy weight control that helps you take shape for life. Lose weight safely and quickly with the Medifast 5-in-1 plan, featuring medically formulated, nutritious, and delicious meal replacements by Medifast. You'll choose 5 Medifast meals each day, one every 2 to 3 hours. Because you eat frequently, you're never hungry, and your metabolism stays revved. Many of the Medifast meals are portable, so you can fit this diet into even the busiest lifestyle. You also get one lean and green meal to eat at the time that works best for you. For the lean, you'll have lean protein. The green is servings of low glycemic vegetables. Depending on your source of protein, you'll get some healthy fat too, and that'll help keep you full and satisfied. While Medifast meals are delicious and nutritionally sound, don't think you'll be committed to meal replacements forever. The 5-in-1 plan is just the first phase of our program. In the transition phase, you'll begin to add more fruits, vegetables, and protein. And on maintenance, you're ready. Optimal health is yours. To speak to a personal health coach, go to RestoringHopeLive.com and click on the Take Shape for Life tab. Then, let us know about your healthy new lifestyle and how good you look and feel. And thanks for listening to Restoring Hope Live. That's RestoringHopeLive.com.
Hi, this is John Botter. I think every parent with a kid on drugs has said, "Why would my kid use drugs? It seems so stupid." And it's certainly put our family in disarray. There's so much tension and pain in our family because of drugs. Boy, that says it all, doesn't it? That's what happens when drugs invade a family. And you often hear addicts talk about the first hit and how wonderful it was and how good it felt. And after that, they just keep trying to have that experience again and again and again. And then later it becomes survival. They don't even think about their families. They don't care about their families. They only think about getting that next fix. And this is why we as parents who've had drugs invade our families can't spend all of our time saying why, but rather say, how do I get healthy?
Find guidance through life's storms. Visit lighthousenetwork.org.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
11 minutes before the top of the hour on this Veterans Day weekend 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. Right here at RestoringHopeLive.com. Dr. Mike Hartwig, my co-host, along with Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat watching the chat. If you go to webcast one, you could just go to RestoringHopeLive.com, RestoringHopeLive.com, and you can bring up the visual broadcast of this program. It's not fancy TV. We say this is passionate radio with pictures, but it does give you an idea of who we are, and information sometimes is flashed across the bottom of the screen, including phone numbers and things like that you can call in on. Paul Morrison has been our guest today, a wonderful guest. I thank you, Paul, for coming in today. Marine Corps vet from 1967 to 70, boots on the ground for almost 3 full years in Vietnam. Picked up a drug and alcohol habit over there that stayed with him for another 40 years. And one day he was on his way to the local liquor store, turned around, dropped to his knees and says, Lord, I can't do this anymore. Was checked into a rehab center inside the vets clinic, the veterans VA, right? And kind of a grumpy old guy for 4 or 5 days while you detox. But you have been clean and sober for, it'll be 4 years. It'll be 4 years on my grandson's birthday, February 11th, 2014. Tell us how your life has changed.
My life, I couldn't ask for a better life. I had stated about what my mother said. I am blessed to have my mother. She's be 85 years old December 2nd. We jokingly say she's a mean old lady. She's only 4'11", and I love the ground she walks on. Her and my pastor, Fred Gaddy, and everybody in my men's ministry at St. Paul Church, AME Church, they have helped me. As I stated before, because of what I'd been through and done in my life, I never thought I deserved to be in a church. St. Paul AME, as well as Elam and different churches in this city, different people mainly, have never looked down on me. And these people are godly people.
Yeah.
They are the ones who accept me into their life no matter what I've done.
Well, and you found the Celebrate Recovery program to be incredibly helpful for you.
You must have been reading my mind, because that's the next thing was coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, Melissa Dale.
Melissa is a beautiful young lady. There's a young man out there named Dave that I think he's been on your show. But me and Dave, we are greeters.
Passois.
Yeah, they tell me I run my mouth so much I'd make a good greeter.
All right.
And I've also learned 2 things in life don't cost you nothing. You should use a whole lot. That's a smile and a hello. And that's what I love, greeting the people as they come in. I asked Melissa when I first saw an article about Celebrate Recovery, how can you tell me this is not a cult? She said, I can't tell you. You have to come out here and experience it for yourself.
Yep.
And besides my Narcotics Anonymous meetings, which I have to have, I feel, Celebrate Recovery is one of the best things that come into my life.
Now, why do you go to NA and not AA?
Years ago, I went to an AA meeting and made the mistake of saying I am an addict. And they looked at me like I had leprosy. Don't get me wrong, AA is a beautiful organization, but not me. Because NA, when you say I am an addict, it does not matter what you are addicted to. It encompasses all. You just have to say, I'm an addict and I need help. And the camaraderie of NA to me is basically getting back to like I was in the military.
Yeah.
Because I thought my home was dysfunctional family, but my NA, that's a dysfunctional family that I love.
How about your relationship with Jesus? How does that change your life?
Oh, my relationship with Jesus is when I found out that he would welcome me back with open arms. Is our men's ministry yesterday was talking about come as you are. And I have a dog tag around my neck that it is one verse that I know by heart. Don't get me wrong, I know quite a few of them. But Joshua 1:9, it says, I will be strong and courageous. I will never be fearful nor discouraged, because the Lord my God walks with me wherever I go. And that stays on my neck.
Yeah.
And because of that, when the Lord getting my life back to the Lord is doing what I want to do in life. It's like it's my calling, because I've been a taker all my life, and now I'm giving back by helping guys at the VA. A Marine Corps staff sergeant called me a couple of weeks ago out of the blue. He'd got my name and number from someone. He asked me to help with the Marine Corps Toys or Tots. And I've got local churches here. They have allowed me to put Toys for Tot boxes in their vestibules to help these children. And I would like to help children so they don't go through the same thing I went through.
Now, do you have grandchildren?
I got a couple of them, little bad things. I love them.
Little bad things. Are they old enough for Grandpa to explain what the rights and wrongs on the street and with drugs and alcohol are?
I think a child is old enough once they can understand.
Okay.
And you can start teaching them then. And as I said, I went to DMAC. I didn't finish to get my degree, but it was in criminal justice. And the real humorous things about it, Judge Odell McGee, who I love.
I love Judge Odell.
He told me in the class, we were talking, and he said, Paul, do you mind if I explain our relationship? I said, no. He started talking. I said, oh, man, quit BS. And you gave me my last 10-year sentence. He said, I didn't give you nothing. You earned every day of it.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And I aced that class.
Oh, good for you.
Yes. But I need to go back because I wanted to help juveniles before they got into the criminal justice system.
All right.
Paul, let me ask you this question. If I just come back from Afghanistan, or I know somebody that's coming back from Afghanistan or maybe overseas, and they're starting to show some signs that what you experienced, what would you say to them?
I would tell their family, sit them down, explain to them what they see that is not right, and ask them, come on, let's go on out to the VA hospital.
Sure.
And see if you can talk to somebody, and maybe they can tell you why you are doing these things that are not you. I told my mother, I used to tell her, I'm going to go out to the VA, play crazy so I can see if I can get some money. And my mother said, you don't have to play. She said, just tell them to send me a letter. Because you're not the same 18-year-old kid that went to Vietnam. And some of the strongest people might have some form of PTSD.
Right.
They don't have to just necessarily turn to drugs, alcohol. They could be a type of person who isolates from their family, who when there's a family reunion, they don't want to come out and see everybody. There are many aspects of PTSD, but the best thing that a person can do as far as their PTSD or anything else, and I'm not afraid to do it today. I'll tell anybody, turn their life over to Jesus Christ because he's the best sidekick you can have.
What apostle are you most like?
I would say Paul, because I'm not afraid to go out and preach the gospel of God. I don't mean preach. I'm not afraid to go out and tell people how good the Lord has been to me, how good the Lord can be to anyone who would just come with open arms.
How do you want to be remembered when you're gone?
A person that God loved, that would help anybody on earth if they asked for that help. An overall good person. I used to jokingly say with my mother, don't bury me, cremate me, because you ain't going to be able to find 6 people who can carry me talking about how good I was.
I bet that's changed now. There are probably 600 people.
I have now people tell me, I was just joking with my mother the other day. I said, I'm going to go back to being bad. I said, because people didn't want me around. Now everybody wants me around. And I'm not used to it. And it takes a while to realize how good God can be in your life.
Yeah, it's God's glory.
It's all His.
When He gives it to you, you got to step up. You don't get to keep it in the darkness.
Oh, no. You got to, when He gives it to you, He gives it to you by the bucket full.
Yep.
And you got to be strong enough to carry the load.
Paul Morrison, thank you very much. God bless you. Thanks for all the work you do and the people that you touch, and thanks for serving our country. And we honor you this Veterans Weekend.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's it. RestoringHopeLive.com. Look us up. Send us messages. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your story. And until we meet again, do me just one favor, would you? Today, please, just pray.